Okay, well, here I am again, and I'm very excited to be with Ronny Marcus again. The amazing Ronny Marcus, who does miraculous things. And
so do you.
Okay, thank you, Ronny. Ronny Marcus, you call yourself a mentalist, or what are you calling yourself nowadays?
I don't know. I don't have a name for myself. A name is just a name. It is not something that I do. It's a way of looking at life. It is. People ask me, well, what do you do? And I answer them, well, it depends who I'm with and where I am at the moment. When I'm in my car behind the wheel, then I'm a driver. When I'm
okay.
Okay.
Now, people today are fascinated with magic and magicians, and there are some very famous people who call themselves magicians, like Dynamo, like Chris Angel, who seem to do miraculous things, but they're tricks mostly. Yes?
Yeah.
But Ronny, the stuff I saw you do, levitating a flower, telekinesis, moving objects with your will and with your hand, that's not a trick.
No, that is not a trick. But then again, everything I do, the magicians have their ways of duplicating it. If you go into a shop that sells tricks or equipment for magicians,
yes,
you will see a spoon that bends.
Yes.
You will see all kinds of equipment to enable magicians to kind of copy what I do, even though all my equipment I give it out to people for checking, but to the audience it looks the same. A magician can pull a rabbit out of a hat. I don't know how to do that.
A trick magician.
Yeah.
Maybe we could differentiate between a sleight of hand artist and a real magician?
I think so, yeah. But there have been people...
Yes?
There have been people who have tried to spell the word magic with a J instead of a G.
Okay, yeah.
To differentiate between, magic tricks with a G,
yes,
and magic with a J, which is supposed to mean, like the real thing.
Let's talk about even biblical stories. Okay, now many of us have seen the Ten Commandments over and over again, maybe the great old Hollywood famous movie, or we know the Bible, and we know that it's written in the Bible that Moses came to Pharaoh and he threw his staff onto the ground and it became a snake. And the Pharaoh's magician said, oh, no big deal, that's an old trick. We can do that as well. And they threw their staves onto the ground as well, and they became snakes. And then, but then the staff, the snake of Moshe, which was once a staff, which was a staff at some level, ate the snakes of the Pharaoh's magicians. How do you understand that story? Is such a thing possible?
Well, everything is possible.
But wait a second. Even that phrase, you said it lightly. Everything is possible. But is everything possible?
I think that the only thing that limits us is our logic. The moment we say to ourselves, well, that is not logical, therefore I cannot do this, well, I have given myself a limitation. For me, it is not logical, so I'm not even going to try it.
Yes.
But, as I say, there are two types of people in the world. There are those who say it is impossible, and then there are those who are doing it.
Okay. All right, but let's get back to the story of Moshe. Have you ever seen or heard of such a thing?
No. I've never seen anything come alive. But let us remember that the Bible was written 3,000 years ago.
Correct, more or less.
More or less, or 4,000 years ago. And if people see a staff suddenly moving, maybe with telekinesis, maybe they interpret it as becoming a snake.
Mm-hmm.
But then, when Pharaoh
or maybe it was a hologramic image somehow. I don't know. What do you continue? I'm sorry. Continue.
No, that's okay. But as I said, magicians have their methods of showing things that are not really there, giving the let us say, showing things as if they were really happening.
Yes, indeed.
Using magic tricks, but
using sleight of hand.
Yeah.
Things. Or
sleight of hand,
smoke and mirrors, whatever you want to call it.
Or electronics today, or magnets, yes. Or whatever. But I would prefer to speak about how things are done, not what is done, because to make things move, I can do it using telekinesis. Someone else can do it by you having a piece of string pulling it along, and someone else can use a magnet. To the naked eye, people see this object moving. How it moved? Well, each person has his own his own method of doing it, and magicians try to show the movement. They show something moving. They don't explain how it moved. And they say, oh, well, Ronny Marcus did it. You see, so did I.
Yes. I understand, but maybe they used a string or a magnet.
Or any other method that you will have to ask them. I am not a magician. As I said, a magician knows how to pull a rabbit out of a hat. That I don't know how to do.
Is there real magic? Or is it all science? Now, I would call telekinesis more science, teleportation. Do you believe that there are people who could do that?
I think I showed it to you. With
not on my film.
Not on your film. Okay. I believe that. It works on scientific theory, on scientific principles as well. 100 years ago, if you would have spoken to someone about a fax machine, they would have said, what kind of fax machine? I mean, to have a piece of paper here and then a minute later for that piece of paper to magically appear somewhere else in the world.
Yes.
I mean, that's completely incredible. It's,
indeed.
But everything is energy. Okay? If I take a candle, let me speak about teleportation.
Sure.
Okay? If I take a candle, or two candles, One of them I will light, one of them
Oh,
I will not light.
oh, wow.
Okay? And I put my hand over the one that is lit, I will feel heat.
Yes.
Okay?
Oh, my.
Heat is energy.
Yes, it is.
And if I go back a few minutes later, I will see that the candle that I lit is now much shorter than the
Yes.
one, and the other one has remained the same.
The one that was never lit.
The one that was never lit. Now we know that heat is energy, and we learned in school we all learned at school that energy does not come from emptiness. Energy comes from energy. Energy cannot be produced. It can be
Moved.
it can be moved or changed or channeled into another type of energy.
Indeed.
So if I feel heat, this heat came from the candle, which means that the candle is energy. Every piece of matter, every bit of matter, everything we see is energy.
Wait, yes?
Now how does this work?
Wait, are you able to transfer the flame? Is that what you were
No,
getting at? Okay.
no, I'm just showing that everything is energy.
Okay.
Firstly, the human voice is also energy.
Yes.
If I take the human voice, my voice, and speak into, we'll call it a diaphragm. We know it by a different name today. Today we call it a microphone.
Yeah.
But a microphone is basically a diaphragm which moves according to my voice. And now suddenly my voice, we'll call it vocal energy if you wish, has become mechanical energy.
Right.
And this mechanical energy we transform into electrical energy.
That's right.
And this electrical energy we translate into radio energy, radio waves.
Okay.
And these radio waves we can send through the air to another machine,
Yeah.
I'll call it a machine, somewhere else in the world, which will do the opposite sequence. It will take the radio waves and turn them into electrical energy. This will move a diaphragm,
Yes.
and then the person on the other side will be able to hear me.
Yes.
I have just invented the telephone.
Yes.
That is how a telephone works. Now, if we can do it with vocal energy, why can we not do it with physical energy like a page? And that is why the first fax machines used to work on telephone lines. If you wanted to have a fax machine at home, you had to have another telephone line.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
But now, let us take a table made of wood, which is also energy. If I ignite the table and it turns into flame,
Yes.
this flame becomes heat.
Yes.
If we collect this heat and condense it into electrical energy,
Yes.
do we have the technology to do that? Heat into electricity?
Of course.
That is how the power company works,
Yeah.
and we spoke about it with a telephone. The same electrical energy we will now turn into radio waves, which we did before,
Yes.
send them over to America,
Yes.
and then we will have a machine which will form a table.
Okay. Well, there are such
It works
machines.
like, no?
Now there are fax 3D fax machines.
Okay.
So there are such machines. Okay.
Right. The fact that we couldn't do it up to now is we just didn't have the machine, we didn't have the technology.
3D copying machines.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But now we are speaking about taking an object turning it into a different kind of energy.
Yes. And sending it across the ocean.
Sending it across the ocean, and then because the energy that we have is difficult to send over the ocean. So now we use either telephone radio waves or light waves, and we have the technology to do it. And we can send, and I call that teleportation.
Okay, yes.
But I use a different type of energy.
Okay.
So basically, it doesn't matter what energy you use. Which means, I'm sorry that I've taken the magic out of teleportation.
Okay.
But that is how it works.
Well, there's science behind all of it. I'm not sure there is any magic. It's all cannot be explained scientifically. Even, let's say, people like Jesus, who was doing so-called miracles, he was, I would say that it's connected to science. Yogananda, in his book, Autobiography of a Yogi, a very famous, great book, he talks about, they have such a powerful vibration. These great, what he calls the Christ yogis of India. Their minds are so powerful. Okay, Ronny, this is a beautiful golden ring. It has the most beautiful green crystal. Show it to the camera. A beautiful green crystal. And it was given to me by a great Swami, Hindu. He's a real Swami in the Swami order. You know, it's an order like the Franciscans, and it's a very disciplined, very serious lifestyle and commitment. And this man made it. Show the picture in front of the.
I don't have the picture.
It's right next to you.
Oh. Okay.
This man made it. He visited my home, and he brought 49 of his students. He has an ashram near Frankfurt, Germany. He came with his students to Israel. They visited my home, and they did an evening in my home. It was such a beautiful evening. And so he's a very high initiate and a beautiful, beautiful being, teacher, and there was beautiful singing. Such a powerful, powerful evening that we had here with Swami Vishwananda. He has a lot of films on the YouTube. Anyway, at the end of the evening, I sat right next to Swami Vishwananda, and I started telling him about certain problems that I was having and how hard it was, and all of a sudden, now I was sitting right next to him, and I saw exactly what happened. At a certain point when I was talking to him, he raises his arm up to the sky, the ceiling, and then he starts bringing it down in a spiral motion. And I watched his hand, and there was no trick. He didn't reach into his sleeve. There was no hidden pockets. I was right next to him, like I'm sitting right next to you. So he spirals his hand down, and then he holds it in front of the middle of his stomach. And he opens his palm, shows me the ring. He says to me, here, wear this ring, use this ring. It will help you. And it wasn't a sleight of hand trick. He, like the great Sai Baba, whose picture I have here also. Maybe I'll show it later on. Sai Baba was famous for pulling pieces of, for creating out of nothing that anybody could see, except air, pieces of jewelry, earrings, I think, different pieces of jewelry, and especially the sacred ash that people would put on their bodies for blessing. They'd put it on the third eye, they'd put it on their body, they'd mix it in drinks, and people would drink it. And this sacred powder, he would create huge amounts of it. They would just come pouring out of his hands. And so anyway, he made this ring for me, and it really does help me. Ronny, you've been holding the ring, and you're probably tuning into the ring. And I'm
actually tuning into you.
Okay.
For a moment I had forgotten that I was holding it.
Okay. Anyway, in Yogananda's book, Autobiography of a Yogi, he explains that when the mind becomes very, very powerful, he talks about these very, 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 very tiny particles of the atom, Yogananda in the book, that he calls lifetrons. Okay, it's tinier than the tiniest particle they've discovered. He says when the mind becomes very powerful, like a great master, a great yogi, then they could use their mind and their connection with the source
to materialize,
to take these lifetrons, these tiniest elements of the universe, and to create, to materialize rings or whatever they're focusing on with the power of their minds. And he explains it in his book. And okay, so Yogananda explains that in a way it's science. Okay, a very, very powerful mind, the mind of a very high initiate can do these things, and it's not magic, and it's not even a miracle outside of the laws of the universe. It's part of the laws of the universe. And of course, you say. So it doesn't surprise you, any of what I just said. Would you like to comment?
People know that when I perform or when I give lectures, I come dressed as I am now, with a shirt and jeans. I don't come in a white robe or anything.
Yes.
People come up to me afterwards and say, but we didn't really see you concentrating. People expect me to make all kinds of faces, and now I need silence, and now I need darkness, and now I need candles, and I don't need all that. That is theatre.
Unless some people need to do that.
Some people need to do that. I'll comment on that as well. But I received what I received as part of me, part of the way I see life, part of the way I view life, and the way I view the world. And that is the way I hand it out. And people say, but, isn't it something that you need to concentrate on? I said, yes, I am concentrating, but it's a different way of concentrating. It's a different way of seeing things. Take an artist standing on a beach, painting the ships going by. behind him he can have ambulances and sirens.
Indeed.
You won't even notice it.
Sure.
Because he's not concentrating in the sense that he's in a trance.
No, not at all.
But he's so into what he's doing at that moment that nothing else matters. Nothing else.
Right. He's in his vortex, in his zone. Yeah.
People see concentration as some kind of trance or...
Okay. But how does it relate to...
So this is something that we all have, I think, to a certain extent. But somehow we just don't know how to use these energies.
And if we did, we could create things, perhaps.
Sure.
Just with our minds.
With our minds, with our thoughts. Even the word abracadabra.
Oh, abra, that's Hebrew, isn't that Hebrew?
Yes, it's from the Canaanite. Abracadabra.
Oh,
Evra kedibra. So as I have spoken, so shall I create.
Yes. Well, yes. It's the power of the mind. Perhaps there are these life charms, and perhaps somebody with an extremely powerful mind or an extremely powerful connection to Source, to God, to the power of love, which is kind of like God. Maybe somebody like that can really do these things. What do you feel with the ring?
Well,
it must have my energy because I take it on my body
and that is,
for a long time. Yes.
I was actually concentrating on what you were saying, and I was with you, and I wasn't really trying to get anything from the ring.
What about now? Because now I take this on my body every night, so there's a big overlay of me on this ring, which maybe has changed it from when it first appeared.
Well, I'm going to say that I feel that this ring was produced mechanically. Firstly, it is not.
Okay.
It didn't come out of pure energy. It was.
Okay, that's your opinion. I respect it. I don't have to agree.
No, of course. No, you don't have to agree. But this is what I feel. I'm not, for a moment, doubting that maybe it was teleported to you, but the actual ring itself was made just as any other ring is made in the world.
Okay.
That is what I feel. I may be wrong, but then again...
You may be right.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
I have to be honest with you.
I want you to be honest. This is a spontaneous, live interview. And that's why I asked the question. So anyway, if you want, you can put it on the blanket. Mm-hmm. No, here. On my blanket. Okay.
I know that people who are watching us now might have expected me to say, yes, it was formed out of the thought waves or the ether.
Yes.
But...
No, look, yeah. Ronny, we're not hiding anything here.
No, of course.
And we're just trying to be who we are, and that's speak from the heart.
Sometimes I let my skepticism get the best of me as well.
And is that your opinion of Sai Baba's creations? Have you ever seen any of these?
No, that is why I prefer not to comment on them until I do see them.
Okay.
Because I haven't...
I used to have some of that powder that he used to make. And I would put some on my third eye, and I would drink it sometimes when I was feeling poorly. And there's a word for that. Okay, very well. Okay, we wanted to talk about living outside the box.
We are talking about that.
We are, yes we are. In my last film, in our last film, I talked about how there was a societal environment, in my opinion, purposely created to dumb down the great masses of the population. And the great tools of these forces of dumbing down, the great tools are the media. Okay? If we watch the media, we see a lot of, they're encouraging us to focus not on high ideals very much, but
low ideals.
Low ideals. Ideals of buy me, buy this, you'll be happy if you buy this. Watch this drama, watch this event. It's the most exciting thing happen. You don't want to miss it. Cliffhangers to keep people on the edge of their seats, hanging on, like soap operas or thrillers, keep them thrilled. Low ideals. Getting them to take sides in conflicts. Low ideals. And very, very, very little of the opposite. And so you could buy their product and live your lives in the box and contribute to the society and buy more of their products and support the forces that are, the governments that are. Okay. So
and I have managed to convince people that is true. And if I do buy their product, yes, I actually do feel much better. I have bought their product and now I'm enjoying life because I now have the new model car. I now have the latest model cell phone. My old cell phone is old, 6 months old already. It's it's almost useless. It's
yes,
6 months old already.
Yeah,
we now have the new model.
It's passé. Be part of it.
Sure.
Be part of the times. Be in the flow. So it's very hard not to get caught up in all that. So how do we do it? How do we? What choice do we have but to get a job and make money and pay the mortgage and pay the food, earn enough money to buy the food and pay the electricity and the water? What choice do we have? How shall we live life?
If I knew the answer to that, I think that I would be able to help many, many people. I don't even know how to help myself with that.
Okay.
I also have to pay the bills. I also have to earn money to buy at the Makolet or at the supermarket. And no, don't get me wrong, I like money like everyone else. But it is not
and you like having nice things.
Hmm?
And you like
I like nice things. But that is not a goal. It is not. I think money shouldn't be a goal in life. It's nice to have and very comfortable to have, to be able to go into a store and say, that I want, here, I'll buy it. And
Yeah, it's nice.
that's a good feeling, but the money in itself it shouldn't be a goal. It should be a means to get to your goal. One of the means.
Okay.
One of the
Certainly,
means.
I agree.
When
Okay, I
you-
think most of our viewers would agree. Money shouldn't be an end in itself. We're not giving our lives just to make money. I want to jump back.
Just one word about
All right.
that.
Yes.
People say that somebody once said that people spend their life making a living, and then they spend their living making a life.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Why can't you do? They spend everything they've made to be able to live. They spend it on medicines and on education, and they
that's
just
what
in
you
order
mean.
to
Yeah. Eventually,
they
yeah.
spend their life making a living,
Yes. And then they end up just
and then
trying
they need the money to.
just to stay afloat,
Yeah.
just to stay in this world.
Why can't we just do two both together? To live, to enjoy life, to make a living, a decent living that you can live on, but to enjoy life as it is.
Indeed.
And I think that we have become robots. If we speak about living outside the box, we have all been put into little boxes with borders. This is my place of work here, and then just going to a place where a modern high-tech company. Each person has his own little square, and that is where he's going to spend the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And
and he's happy to have it.
mhm.
And other people are envious that he's got that square.
But then again, he knows that tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, he's going to be there until 5 in the afternoon. He's going to go home, spend 2 hours in front of the television,
Yeah.
and another 2 hours in front of his computer.
Yes.
He's going to go to bed,
Yes.
and the day after that, at 8 o'clock, he's going to be at work again,
Yes.
and that he will do for 20 years,
Yes.
or 30.
Yes. Until he's old.
And which means that we have become robots. We have automated machines.
Or mice in a maze, running the maze day after day after day after day.
Automated machines, just to do a certain piece of work, and instead of living life. I believe that we were born to do more than just to spend our life in front of a computer or on the phone.
Well,
talking.
yes, obviously I think most people who are anyway watching these films would probably agree with that, but still it's so easy to get caught up in it. And
Because if we don't, we think. Because that is the way the world works today.
yes,
And to be part of the world, you have to, how shall I say, to be part of the world, you have to do what the world expects of you, and which means that you yourself have become one of these mice.
yes. Well, at least on the outside, you don't have to be one on the inside. Yes, you have to earn money unless if you're lucky enough to inherit it or something. And
That is why I give my lectures and my workshops, to show people that there is another way of looking at things and looking at life.
Yes. Okay, Ronny, we talked a tiny bit about one of my favorite teachers and influences on my life right now and healers. A great worldwide teacher called Master Sha. Okay, you get his mailings too, right?
Yes.
And Master Sha talks about infinite levels of the divine, of the Tao. And he talks about saints from all the traditions who are living and in their light bodies anyway, and in these different levels of heaven. And there are heaven's temples, and layer upon layer upon layer of God, of the divine. And he sees them, and hears them, and talks to them. And he has been, I do believe, entrusted with the ability to download things, sort of like the ring. He doesn't do so much physical things like this ring, whatever the truth of the ring is or not. He doesn't download physical things that you could hold in your hand like the ring, but he downloads light balls, which he says have consciousness and rotate in your body and give you power and strength for not only this life but the next lives. He downloads what he calls heaven's treasures into people to heal them, whether they're golden light balls or rainbow-colored light balls, or purple or crystal, or he talks about soul light needles, acupuncture with heaven's light, with special heavenly needles and heavenly herbs to treat people. And these things are very well known in the Asian tradition. They talk about it in India. I think in all Asia they talk about things like this. And I personally believe that there are temples and levels and saints and Tao saints and Buddhist saints and endless levels of heaven. I've interviewed people who could see the levels, who say they see the levels and interact with those beings. And I can feel them when... anyway, what I'm getting at here, what do you think of this idea of levels of the divine and saints living there in temples and so on and so forth?
Let us take the idea of God, for instance.
Yes, let's take it.
I believe that if you call him God,
yes,
or if you call him Allah, or you call him Krishna, or you call him Buddha, it is one idea. I won't even say being. He might be a being, or she. But I believe that this idea of God is, I think God doesn't need a shape. He doesn't need to be a being. It is not someone sitting up there and seeing if I said the right blessing at the right time or ate the right foods, or...
Some people like Master Sha say the source, and or the Tao, which means like the source. Okay.
So I believe in God, but not in the way, not in the sense of a being who is looking over us to see how we are behaving. He has given us the ability to choose and to accept the consequences of our choices. And that in itself is, let us say, gifts or punishments for our own decisions.
All right.
God
yes.
doesn't have to punish us for what we do, or if we act in a certain way, we will gain heaven, or we will gain.
But there is a law of cause and effect.
Of course,
there is a law
sure,
of karma, and of grace. I mean, there's grace. If we had to work off all of our karma, we would never get it done. Okay, so it's not a God punishing us, but there is a cause and effect, universal law.
I'll tell you how I see karma. Karma, I believe, is not how would you say is not not our future, what is going to happen, but it is what it is what lets it happen. For instance, if a person...
It is what?
It is what lets our future happen to us, or
what
we
okay. You mean it opens specific windows of opportunity, or closes them according to our karma?
Mm-hmm.
Could you say that?
Sure. For instance, tomorrow I have the choice of going out on a picnic, and just giving two examples, or of going to visit a friend of mine. I have two choices, and I have decided to go on a picnic, and I go there, and suddenly a snake comes and bites me.
Yes. Okay.
If I had not gone out on this picnic, I would not have been at that place, which means that the snake would not have had the ability to
bite you,
to bite me, and to set the outcome of this bite for the future.
Correct.
And so karma is not what happens, but it is what lets things happen. It sets the scene for things to happen.
It does set the scene. And if I've done maybe low things and violent things in my life or past lives, then I will be naturally attracted to similar type environments, and I might get attacked or something, or get a disease or whatever from going to these environments. The predilections of my desiring self lead me to do certain things that will bless me or hurt me, and those predilections come about by my past actions. Sort of what you're saying also?
Yeah, but also, let us take a violent person.
Yes.
Who has a love of knives. He loves knives.
Yes.
He can choose to become a killer.
Yes.
Or to become a surgeon.
Perhaps.
Here he will kill someone, here he will heal someone. The knife itself will not do anything by itself. It needs a person to hold it. The knife will be the karma.
Sure. The knife will be the karma?
It will be...
It's the predilection that's the karma.
Okay. But a person has the ability to decide in which way to channel his own tendencies.
Well, in reality, he doesn't. Very few people who are at the vibration to be a killer have the potential in them. or the vibration, or the energy, or the ability to be a surgeon. Maybe they have the potential, instead of being a killer, to be a chef.
A chef, okay.
It's more within that vibrational reach than, let's say, a surgeon, maybe.
But a surgeon as well has to be a person who's not scared of seeing blood.
True.
He's not scared of cutting someone.
True.
He's not scared of taking out a piece of a person's inner organs.
Yeah, that's all true. That's all true.
Which means that there has to be some kind of basic, I won't say bad, but something violent in him, even if he is a very friendly and calm person.
He needs,
needs to have some kind
I don't know if it's violence or aggressivity. Nobody could be alive without aggression. Seth, in one of his books, I don't know if you know, Seth, the Seth books, he talks about, just like you couldn't be alive without passivity, you couldn't be alive without aggressivity. To walk forward, go to a new place, or even just to walk forward, that's aggression. To say no is aggression. We are mixed, and we need it. This is a male and female energy.
And then again, there are things that are socially acceptable, as I say, and others that are not, but they're basically the same thing. For instance, we have been given two gifts to show our emotions. One is laughter, and one is tears. We are allowed to laugh in company.
Yes.
There's absolutely no problem, and people will laugh with us.
Yes.
But God forbid that you cry in front of people.
Except for, of course, films and plays and stuff like that.
Then you will be considered weak, or weak-minded, or or childish.
Yes. Also, that's changing, but
it is. Why? If I'm expressing what I feel.
Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. But Ronny, I want to get back to the point of the hierarchy of heaven. Do you believe that there are levels and beings and temples? Is that what would you say about? What is your personal belief about that?
I have never seen temples in the sky, as I say.
Oh, I'm not talking about physical temples, you understand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But saints. A few years ago, my brother passed away. He had cancer.
Yes.
And every time I pass the cemetery, I go in for a few minutes, I sit by the grave, and I really feel that he's there talking to me.
His spirit, his spirit is there. Yeah. He's there somehow. Okay.
So I know that he's there. Even if I'm just imagining it, but I know that it is more than imagination.
Okay. Because we were talking about living outside of the box. And one of my favorite writers is a woman named Barbara Hand Clout. And she says she sees these other realms and these other dimensions. And she says that we are because of the forces that be and our own level of vibrational achievement, we are in, let's say, vibrational prison. And we cannot see many of us, most people, cannot see these other beings and these other dimensions, and which are all around us. angelic beings and all kinds of beings, maybe light and not so light. We don't see them because we are locked in a vibrational prison.
And we are not ready to see them.
And we're not ready to see them. And very interestingly, the first time I did a Master Shah webcast, and I was watching the broadcast from Germany, I started seeing, with my eyes closed, all of these Asian people. I mean, like a lot of, and I don't know if they're living somewhere on the earth or they've made their transition into non-physical, but it was incredible. And there have been times when, maybe with you too, when with eyes closed, we see faces. Has that ever happened to you?
Yes.
Yes, I imagine it has. And so maybe you have seen saints, and maybe you've even seen buildings and places that just came to you in your mind's eye. And because we're talking here about being trapped in a box and living outside of a box and getting out of that box. And maybe a big part of living getting out of the vibrational prison is opening our third eye, our spiritual inner vision, to such an extent that the box, the trap that the media sets for us has no attraction for us and no hold on us, because we see these other worlds and these other things. Maybe that's a key.
Wherever we go in the world today,
Yes.
Most buildings, most rooms are built with 4 walls. Why not 6? Why not 7? Why not 11?
It's not as convenient.
Well, no, but okay, why not 3? A triangle.
Why not?
This box has come to rule our lives, and the physical box as well. I know my borders, and my place in life is from here to here.
Yes.
Don't bother me with things outside my borders. And what I try to do in my lectures is to kind of drill peepholes in the walls of the box, in the walls of the classroom, to show that there is a world outside that we don't learn about in the classroom. But it doesn't matter that we don't learn about it, because it's there anyway. And
It matters in our own lives.
And I cannot force anyone to look through these peepholes. I just drilled them.
I love that image that you gave us in our last film, where what you do is you make these holes for people to look into.
And I cannot make anyone look through them, but I just drilled the holes. They're there for you to see.
That's your job, indeed. So what are some big, how could you do that for us, let's say right now? I mean, what can you tell us or show us? Because you're able to show a lot of things. What can you tell us or show us that would make us understand, I could do that, or that's possible? What important stuff that you think?
I have broken it down to what I call 6 keys.
Meaning what?
Which I have developed. Keys to looking at life, of my way of looking at life. Keys being keys because they open doors. They open many doors. Each key being another stage in reaching a higher level of how we look at life, which are the first three actually. How life looks at us, how the world looks at us, those are the next two. And then just the whole complete picture will be contained in the last key. And
we do have a board here if you want to go into it.
And I have complete workshops on these keys, but just very, very shortly, if I use the board. Okay. I thought we have to begin somewhere, and the best place to begin is at the beginning.
Usually.
And whatever we do, the first step is the most important. Somebody once said that, I don't know who it was, but somebody said that the longest, how did he put it? The longest travel, the longest road starts with one step.
Yes, that's a famous saying. Yes.
I don't know who it was.
And there's great truth in that saying.
And I can put it another way, that the distance between 0 and 1 is much larger than the distance between 1 and 2. Yeah. Between 1 and 2, well, between 0 and 1, you have moved, you have done something.
Yes, you've broken inertia.
You've broken inertia. If you've moved a little bit, 1, and then you move another little bit to 2, well, okay, you've moved another short distance. But from 0 to 1, you have gone from...
a huge step. Yeah.
So we start from the beginning, from the A, from the alpha, or in Hebrew we'll say Aleph. Okay. I'll do it like this. Okay. Aleph.
It's very similar to the letter A. It sort of looks like an A, and it's the first letter.
Mm-hmm. Which is the beginning.
Yes.
Aleph is me, Ani. Right? It's myself, the first person, the first party.
Yes.
That is why I say the first three keys are how we look at the world. The first party, the second party, the people who are with us, and the third party, people who are all the rest of the people. But starting from the beginning with me, with myself, what have I done? Where is my responsibility for where I am now?
Right.
I can blame the government, and I can blame my boss, and I can blame my wife, and I can blame the whole world for all my problems. But what could I have done to make it different? To make a difference in where I am now?
Yes, yes.
Also, my own happiness should not be because someone else does something, or someone else entertains me.
You bet, you bet.
You
are the creator of your own painting.
And if
the
I
attractor of your experience. Yes.
And if I have chosen to be offended by someone, or it is my choice.
Yes.
I can decide to say, oh well, it's okay, so he wants to defend me. I don't believe in negative energy. Energy that has been given to me in any way, negatively or positively, is energy. It is a gift. I can use it positively, even if it was given to me negatively.
Yeah.
That is my decision what to do with it.
I like that.
Okay. Just like in judo, if you try and go against someone,
right, you'll
just both end up pulling one another to different directions. But if you see that if your opponent tries to pull you down, Go with him, and then you will be able to
Indeed.
overcome him.
Yes.
Go with the energy that was given to you, use that as a gift.
Yes.
That is yourself, what you do for yourself. Because I was abused as a young child maybe, or my partner did something to me, that is not going to cause, it shouldn't cause any, it shouldn't be any, it shouldn't have any importance on what I am, where I am, what I feel.
It shouldn't, but it's stuck in us. Things get stuck in
Yeah.
us. And they,
As I
and
said,
they resonate in us. Ideally, of course not, it shouldn't.
as I said in the beginning, I know how to teach better than I know how to learn.
Yes.
This is still something that I have to learn.
Yes, me
How
too.
not to, but put the most, you put yourself in the first place, in the most important place, just as when flying in a plane with children. They say, if the air pressure should drop and the masks come down, put your own mask on first, and then put the mask on the children.
Then you can help everyone else.
Then you can help everyone
That
else.
makes, of course, a lot of sense. Yeah. All right. So what about the Aleph?
But that's the Aleph. But now we get to the second stage, the second party, the people who are with me, who are around me, the people I work with.
Or
interact
with.
Or people I interact with, the people in my family, everyone, people who I come in contact with. And I have to see them as an ach, a brother.
The second letter is a chet, and that's ach. Two
A
letters.
brother.
Yes.
Because seeing all those that I interact with as a brother puts them in a different light. Okay, so you tried to offend me. Okay, that's okay. You're my brother. I mean, it's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, it's not someone who.
Yes.
Well, don't you know how my brother talks? That's the way he talks. He's my brother. It's okay.
If only we could do that.
Yeah. Well, it's something we should try and learn.
Yes.
We know how to put a man on the moon.
Indeed.
But we don't know how to cross the road to say good morning to someone. Maybe they need you. People
You're right. You're right. We're afraid.
We're afraid. If I go up to people in the street, and I do, I say good morning, people look at me, what do you want from me?
Yes, that's right.
I don't want anything, I just say
Not
good
all
morning.
of them. Some of them, yeah.
I just say good morning, that's all.
Yeah.
I was walking in Jerusalem, and I came to this beggar in the Midrashov in Ben Yehuda.
A famous street.
In the middle of Jerusalem.
Yes.
And there was this beggar there. And I looked at him and I gave him a coin and I said, how are you feeling today? And he started crying. He said, you were the first person today who has spoken to me.
Well, Ronny, it's so important.
See everyone as your brother.
Wow.
That way people can't offend you and you can't offend them. You're not going to hurt your brother.
That's right.
You are not going to hurt your brother.
That's right.
And maybe because it's your brother, he may need something that you can give him right now and not just live your own life as people do. But then we get to another stage. All the other people, all the others, acher, the others.
Okay, now that word spells acher, the last letter resh, and it means the other.
All the others. And we have to relate to them as well.
But wait, you just said they're all our brothers. So
no, the people who are with me.
Okay.
The people I interact with.
Okay, in your circle.
Mm-hmm.
The ones in
my
your circle are your brothers. Our
But then,
brothers, hopefully, yes.
But we have to interact with all the others as well, because
The others, okay.
The-
Acher,
Yeah.
other, okay.
Mhm. Okay.
We do have to interact with them. And what's your point here?
The point is that three men are sitting in a boat, and one of them takes out a drill and starts drilling holes in the boat, and the boat starts filling up with water, and the others say to him, "What are you doing?" So he says to them, "What do you care? I'm drilling the holes where I'm sitting, not where
Oh
you
yeah,
are
well
sitting."
that's
Which means
yeah.
that whatever we do has an effect on other people who we have no contact with at all. But we do have an effect on them. We do have an influence over the whole world. Whatever we do
For
changes
sure.
something. It causes a chain reaction, and we don't know where the chain reaction.
Well, they call some things the butterfly effect. Imagine.
Yeah, and this is how we relate to others. But now we get to a stage.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. But now we get to another two stages
Okay.
of how the world relates to us. And here we get to a much higher stage. Once we have learned how to relate to all the people around us, we get to a stage which I call Acharai, after me.
After me.
Once I have learned this, I can become. I can become a leader. I can show people how to live. I can teach. I like to see myself as somewhere between these two letters, a teacher, but also a person who is still learning.
Okay.
Okay, to be how should we say it, a role model, a
Yes.
charai.
After
But not
me.
just to,
Yes.
but not just to give directions. You should do this or you should do that. I'll show you how to do it.
Yes.
Follow me. Just
You're the example.
an example. Be an example. But then, when everyone else starts saying, "Acharav," go after him.
Yes.
He is the example. There are very few people who have reached this stage. It is the Dalai Lama,
Wow,
Mother Teresa. There are very few people where the whole world says, they are your example.
It's true, but in past times, in certain societies, well, they would say that for bad people. But today, I think the examples you're giving, Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, that's the high level, yes.
And
But
then
sometimes they Mandela, another one. But sometimes we've known to our
Martin Luther King.
King. Sometimes people say after him when that him isn't worth going after. We know that, but still,
No, but
we're talking about
let him be
the real thing,
your goal.
the real
Follow that person.
way shower, like
Mhm.
the people you mentioned.
And then we can end, if we started with Aleph, we end with Taf. Then we will reach the whole Achrayut,
Which means responsibility.
responsibility for yourself, for the world, and for the people around you.
Okay. Really, Achriyut, it's really connected to that, to those first three letters, the other.
Mm-hmm.
The word responsible in Hebrew, which is this, relates to the first three letters. Is that other?
Achrayut in Hebrew has another meaning as well. Not
Okay.
just only responsibility, but you can go somewhere and say, Mi ha'achrayi, who is in charge? The person who is in charge, the person who has taken charge of everything.
Who's responsible here?
Who is responsible in that sense?
Yes.
And this is just, the very basis of what I call the 6 keys.
Okay.
I
yes.
have complete.
On one foot, as they say. You know, in a teaspoon, right?
Mhm.
You have what? What were you going to say?
And I teach these things in workshops. I have complete workshops
Yes, I believe.
just on this word.
And on the 6 stages.
The 6 stages.
And I'm living a life built on the 6 stages, yes?
I'm trying to.
Yes.
I'm getting there.
Ronny, I watched our old film, and I love it, and apparently people like it because it's doing very well. And there's one thing you said that I wanted to ask you about, and you said that there is such thing as a hypnotic language. What is that?
It is a language, just like any other language, which has its own words, its own way of using words. I know of 3 basic hypnotic languages, whether you use them in English or French or any other language, but
Yes, I
it's
understand.
the way of putting words together or sentences together to achieve to achieve hypnosis. For instance, the mind cannot accept negative words. For instance, if I say to you, don't think of a white bear,
So you're hypnotized.
you won't accept the word don't, but you will think of a white bear.
Yes, you will. So you're hypnotizing me to think about a white bear.
I'm not hypnotizing you, no. That was just
All right, a little tiny example.
a tiny example, yeah, but well, if you want to say something, say it in the positive. Instead of saying don't think of a white bear, I will tell you what you should think of. Well, I won't say don't try to open your eyes.
Okay.
Because that is what you are going to try to do. You are going to try to open your eyes. That is what the mind receives.
Yes.
But if I say, keep your eyes closed, or let your eyes close, then I have given you a suggestion saying the same thing, but using the positive form of what I would like you to do, what I would like to suggest.
Yes.
There are 3 basic languages. We have what we call the Freudian language, Sigmund Freud.
Meaning what?
Sigmund Freud.
I've read Freud. I'm a fan of Freud. Tell us about Freud.
In order to understand that, let's start from the very beginning. There was once a man named Franz Anton Mesmer.
The famous Franz Mesmer.
Franz
From which
Mesmer.
comes the modern word to mesmerize.
To mesmerize.
Yes.
But we have changed the word mesmerize to hypnotize because to mesmerize means just to take your watch or to take a chain and kind of...
Or to just look with your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Without a watch or a chain, there are people who could, and we sort of experimented with this last time we got together. There are people who could look in your eyes and do all kinds of things. Yes?
I will show you how to do that.
All right.
Okay.
If it's for the highest good, yeah.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I won't do anything to you, don't... But...
All right.
Mesmer wanted to study what he called animal magnetism.
Right. That's a phrase from the old world.
A phrase from the old world. It is what we now call energy. The same energy that we use for telekinesis or for making things move. And he wanted to do a study on that. And he decided that he wants to do research on people and to get them to concentrate on whatever they were doing at that moment.
Yes.
So he said, well, how can I get people to concentrate? Oh, I have my watch on me, and then watches were not on a strap, they were on a chain.
That's correct.
And he took out his watch and started moving it like this in front of people. And what happened was something like this. Most of the people didn't have any effect on them at all.
Right. Right.
It's just, they were just watching this watch go, and
so what?
So what?
Yeah.
Okay. Some of them fell asleep.
Right.
But that was just because they were either bored or their eyes became heavy just because they were looking at this thing, and so they just fell asleep. But in a very, very small let's say
percent?
A very few, small percentage of these people, he noticed that they were in a kind of trance-like state, but not a real trance. He saw that something was happening, and he decided to follow up on that.
Yes.
Okay. That was the beginning of mesmerism. Okay.
Yes.
When Freud came about, he decided, he was a young doctor, and he said, I want to study the psyche of people, not their physical, their physical ailments. Let's try and use this, but if I want them to concentrate, I'm going to ask them to concentrate, not to hold up something in front of them. So I will tell them to close their eyes, feel comfortable, breathe deeply, and fall asleep. Okay. Now, if we look at these four basic, I'm forgetting all my English. Okay. These four basic, we'll call them instructions. What to do. Close your eyes.
Yes.
Feel comfortable.
Yes.
Breathe deeply.
Yes.
And fall asleep. There are instructions. Okay, what do
They
you
are.
do? Why should I follow these instructions? Well, because he's the doctor and he is the authority, and he knows best. If my doctor tells me that I need an injection,
he knows.
As much as I don't want to take it,
he knows his job.
Yeah, okay.
Hopefully.
If a doctor says to me, I have to do surgery on you, and I know that I'm going to go to this hospital and they're going to cut me up and play around with all, but I'm going to go there anyway because my doctor told me to.
Yes.
He's the authority. But if the instruction is very easy to follow, close your eyes. Okay, I'll close my eyes. That sounds okay. Feel comfortable? Oh, now this is getting better. Okay. Breathe deeply. Well, I've closed my eyes and I'm feeling very comfortable. Yeah, and my breath is getting deeper and slower. Right. Fall asleep. Why should I fall asleep? Because I'm already into following the instructions.
Yes.
This is the Freudian language.
Okay.
Giving instructions. Freud had a young student who later became a very good friend of his by the name of Carl Jung.
Yes.
Carl Jung said, now I know of a lot of people who cannot accept instructions. So instead of giving them instructions, I will describe what is happening to them. I won't say, close your eyes. I'll say your eyes are closing.
Ah.
Your breathing is getting deeper.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Your breathing is getting deeper.
Okay.
And you're falling asleep. You're sitting very comfortably. Your eyes are closing and you're falling asleep. I have not given any instructions.
Yeah.
But it is the same four instructions, well, not instructions, but suggestions.
Yes.
For the exact same induction. Induction is the process of putting someone into a hypnotic state.
Inducing them.
Yeah, inducing them to sleep.
Yeah.
I use the same inductions with the same, the same ideas, the same basic ideas, but in a different language.
Yes.
But then, during the last century, between the 1920s and the 1980s, when he died, there was a new boy on the block. He said he invented something which, another language as well, which has become the foremost language in NLP, neurolingual programming,
neurolinguistic programming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or in what they call psychocybernetics.
Psychocybernetics.
Psychocybernetics. It is the main language that is used there. Freud and Jung are still used in psychoanalysis and psychotherapy.
Yes.
But here, instead of giving a person instructions or describing what is going to happen to them, he decided to tell the person to cause it by himself, by his own will, to bring these things around. For instance, not close your eyes or let your eyes close, but feel your eyes closing, let them close. Let yourself breathe very deeply and feel comfortable.
I feel that's very powerful. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Let yourself just feel comfortable and fall asleep. If your eyes are closing, just let them close.
Oh, it's working on me. It's working on me already, yeah.
And
oh, wow.
That is the third language. Now I gave the same induction with the same suggestions, but in 3 different languages.
That's very interesting.
So Milton Erickson.
Okay.
That was his name.
Okay, yeah, he was famous. I've heard the name, a famous hypnotist.
Yeah, Milton Erickson.
Yes.
And
boy, that last one is powerful.
I personally choose to use the Ericksonian language, Milton Erickson. That is what I do mostly. I know how to use Jung and Freud, but Milton Erickson is very, very, as we say, user-friendly.
That's very powerful.
For the hypnotist and for the subject, because the subject feels that this is something that he's doing by himself.
He's allowing it. Just
allow yourself to fall asleep.
Like he wants to do it all along, you know? He's just allowing his own natural tendency to just do what it wants to do. Wow.
And that
one is
you
really
very, very deeply into hypnosis and very, very quickly. And you have instantaneous induction, which means that within less than a second, a person can be under.
I felt it go. I felt myself getting, falling into it as you did the last one. That's very interesting.
It is a pity we don't have a volunteer subject here, just to show the camera, even instantaneous induction.
I could ask one of my guys if they want to.
No, but
I could.
But then again, we're here just to talk. Meantime,
okay. So, but this is something that can be abused, don't you think?
it could be abused, but it won't be abused because if a person does not want to be hypnotized, he will not be hypnotized. You are not forcing anything on anyone. You are not forcing your will on anyone. And a person doesn't become a kind of zombie. He knows what is happening, just lets it happen. You put him into a state. The hypnotic state is a state where you can receive information more easily, and person witnesses a crime.
Yes.
But things happen very, very quickly, and he wants to give evidence as a witness, and the people, let's say the police, will say to him, well, what kind of car did he drive? Or what color was his hair? Or what was he wearing? And the person will say, I don't know, I didn't really notice. I was just, I was just watching things happen. But in hypnosis, you can go back to where you were at that time and rethink, and re-see everything in your own time, and you'll say, okay, now the person running is wearing a black coat.
Yes.
And he went into a red van, and the number of the van was, you said very, very slowly.
Yeah.
Because even if you didn't register it, it is there, somewhere in your mind. And here you are able just to renew it renew the information very, very slowly. And if the whole crime or whatever it was, if it happened within 3 or 4 seconds, here you can draw it out over 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just very, very slowly to see the...
That's incredible. I have heard about that. I don't think in America anyway, where I come from, that testimony given under hypnosis, it's not accepted, but nevertheless, it's a phenomenon.
It is not accepted.
Yes.
But then again, neither is the polygraph.
Yes.
But it will give the...
A polygraph in America does have weight in a court, I think, or at a job interview, you could give weight. Some companies use it. Yes.
But here it is a great tool for the police to use, because even if they cannot use it in court, they will have something to go on. You say that this was the number of the car. Let's see where this car was at the... It is the duty of the police to prove what I have just said under hypnosis.
Yes. But they
can't say he said it and he was under hypnosis, therefore...
No, they can't. But they can give them a lead to follow and to look for what was described.
Look for a man who is bald-haired and who has a black dog and drives a white Ford.
Okay, but you said that hypnosis is, nobody could really be harmed because they have, at some level, they have to agree to it or not.
It is
of course, we've seen in the last century, the 20th century, we've seen mass hypnosis on a nationwide scale. In Nazi Germany, in Stalin's time, in Russia, and they were like Hitler, for instance. He was using a hypnotic language. It sounded like Jung to me. You are the master race. Your destiny is. Is that? Do you sort of agree with that?
Even advertisements today use hypnosis.
Yes. But I would say, like for instance, Hitler, he seduced them. Hypnotized and seduced. It's not that they went against their will. They were seduced, as you will, into believing a certain way.
Because they needed it and they were ready for it.
And they needed it. They needed. It was the Great Depression, and they had lost the war, the first war, and they were ready for it. And so they just fell into it easy. They were seduced into it, and so it's not like they went against their will.
It wasn't against their will. It was their will. They needed someone to come and say, "You are above everyone else.
Yes,
you are better than everyone else.
You're not worse. You don't.
You are better. You are the Aryan race,
the master race. Yes,
the master race."
So it was a combination, and also he told them what to do.
Hitler had another tool as well.
Yeah. No, you told me about Eva Braun and the sending of the energy to his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Heil, right?
Mm-hmm.
You told us on the first film. Is that what you were going to tell us?
Yeah. Eva Braun was a lady who understood energy. She understood manipulation.
And so did he. Yes.
And
yes.
Also Stalin had a lady who he didn't take one step without her.
Yes.
She was his advisor and she told him what to do.
But then you had, actually at the same time, you had another great speaker for the light, I would say, Roosevelt. Now Roosevelt inspired the American people. He gave them hope, and Churchill as well. So they were also great inspirers, great movers of huge populations. Yet there's a difference between inspiring, or is there? Or what would you say that they are?
Hypnosis
Yes.
is a state of awareness as well, but from a different direction. You are aware of what is happening, but you are more open to receiving suggestions from the outside, from someone else. You don't have to accept them. No one can go against your own will.
Yes.
If I say to someone, go to the top of the roof and jump off the roof,
they won't do it.
They won't do it. But if I say to them, go to the top of the roof, you are now standing in front of a nice fresh swimming pool, and the weather is very, very hot now. Why don't you jump in? Then they will, because that is something that they would do normally.
Go to the top of the roof.
Because it is an altered state of awareness.
And you mean they'd jump from the building if they believed it was a swimming pool?
Yeah. But it takes time to get to that state.
Thank God
Yeah.
that it can't be done easily.
It can't be done easily, and usually a person will wake up before he gets to that state, because
We have a sense.
we have a sense of
Survival.
Survival.
I may have mentioned in the first film, I don't remember, there's a beautiful book by a great scientist, researcher by the name of David Wilcock. He's also a great teacher. It talks a lot about the purposeful dumbing down of society, the conspiracy behind it, and also he talks about hidden research. There's a lot of research which has been purposely kept from the public for very bad reasons. So he has this book called The Source Field Investigation. He talks about hypnosis. He gives an example which won't surprise you probably, and maybe we talked about it. A young man visits a therapist who knows hypnosis, or a friend who knows hypnosis, and he's very upset because he broke up with his girlfriend for one reason or the other. And the friend hypnotizes him and tells him that he can go in his light body to the dorm where his girlfriend is living, and to walk to the door. And he says, but the young man is blocked. He said, but the door is closed. And the hypnotist says to him, but you could either walk through the door or open the door. So whatever he says, walk through the door. So he walks through the door. And he's told, walk over into your girlfriend's apartment and tell me what you see. And he says, well, she's writing a letter, or she's writing on a piece of paper. And he says to the young man, true story, a very famous story, which was the true story. I think it was one of the great pioneers of hypnosis. When he was a young man and he was playing around with hypnosis, he did this little experiment with his friend, who had come to him distraught about his girlfriend. So anyway, he tells the young man under hypnosis, okay, go over there and walk over to her and look over her shoulder and see what she's writing. And the young man, in his light body under hypnosis, follows the instruction and looks at the letter, and all of a sudden he becomes very, very happy because he sees that she's writing or an apology letter, or a letter saying that she wants to get back with him. And so he's traveled in his light body. He's read the letter, and then he's eventually brought out of the hypnosis. He's told to remember the hypnosis, remember everything that happened to him under hypnosis, remember everything he saw. And so he's taken out of hypnosis, and now he's very happy because he remembers the letter. And later on it turns out that exactly at that time she did write that letter. He got the letter. It was all true. Under hypnosis, he was able to travel in his light body across the city to read her letter correctly. And in other words, he had super abilities. And well, that's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. It makes me think, Ronny, again, earlier we talked about the different levels of heaven and the saints in their light bodies living in the different levels of heaven. So if we have, and this seems to be proof that we do have something called a light body. And that even when our physical body is inactive, maybe under hypnosis, lying on a couch, or dead, that we still have a light body, an aspect that can travel and experience and learn and so forth. So that's an amazing story. It doesn't surprise you all that much, does it?
I have heard these stories. I personally have met a lady. Her name is Phyllis Schlemmer. Have you heard her name?
The famous Phyllis Schlemmer, the channeler and author, who wrote a book I read called The Only Planet of Choice. Yes.
I don't know where she is now, but she used to live near Hedera.
Yes.
It's a place called Ein Iron. She wrote a few books.
A British lady. She married an Israeli or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Israel Carmel. It was her partner's name was Israel Carmel.
Okay.
I don't know where they are now, but I have tried to contact them. Anyway, this lady she took active part in 2 of her own funerals.
You mean she went to the future? She
No.
went to a probable future?
No, a present, not a future. The first time,
What do you mean she died?
she died and came back again.
Wait,
The first time,
after the burial she came back? What?
the first time she died in hospital and came back again.
In the hospital?
And yeah, but they were just preparing her for the second time at the funeral. She opened her eyes.
Oh, wow.
I'm here.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Okay. I think she wrote about it in one of her books.
Okay. But how does that connect with the story I just related?
Now, in her books, she describes what she saw and what she felt.
Yes.
And she saw the doctors preparing her body for burial, and she said, no, this isn't right. I'm going back. I'm not ready yet for this.
Okay.
And she came back, and the second time, again, she described what she saw, white lights and someone calling her from her head and people pulling her back, and she had to make a decision whether to go forward or to go back, and she decided that she hadn't finished her job on earth yet, so she came back, and she describes all this in one of her books.
Okay. So in other words, she experienced her light body.
Maybe she entered her light body and saw her physical body.
Yes.
And she had to decide, well, which one should I choose to live in?
Or maybe, I think when we're in our physical body, the light body is sort of
Floating around.
or latent inside of us. When we dream, we do, in any case, travel, I think, whatever you want to call it.
Now the Druze community
Here in Israel.
or
in Syria or in Lebanon, yes.
They firmly believe that's part of their religion, in reincarnation, and they connect the 2 Hebrew words, neshama, soul, to neshima, breathing. When you take your first breath, that is when your soul enters your body.
Yes.
And at any given time, according to their religion, there are always an equal amount of Druze souls on earth.
Yes.
One dies and another one is born. He might be born in Australia.
Yes. Now they're all over the world. Yes.
No, but not as a Druze. He might be born as a born Australian, but, but the spirit is Druze. And that is why they have many stories. There is one that I heard of a young boy, a young Druze boy, who had never left his village. And he was walking around and suddenly he saw a man and said, "That's the man who killed me. That's the man who murdered me." So everyone looked at him and he said, "Yes, he murdered me. I'll show you where." It was in another village by a tree, under a tree, and he took the knife and he buried the knife under the tree. And they took this boy to the other village. He had never left his own village before.
Yes.
They took him there and he said, "That's the tree." And they dug and they found a knife.
What happened to the...
I don't know.
Okay.
Apparently there was not enough evidence or anything.
Anyway, how do you say in court, "That guy killed me"? How do you say that? Well, actually there are many stories the Jews tell. It's very common apparently for children to remember, "Oh, I used to live in that house and those were my parents." It's very common because it's accepted in the culture from the time they're babies for children to remember apparently this type past lives and stuff like that. And if you read, there's a lot of literature now. I used to get a magazine called the Journal of Regression Therapy. It was the professional journal of regression therapists who for therapeutic purposes regress people through different types of hypnosis, different techniques to past lifetimes. These stories are well out there now. There are books, fascinating books, and also about near-death experiences, which is what Phyllis Schlemmer had. So apparently we have a light body. And anyway, we are much more than we think we are. And we can tap into these abilities. We don't need somebody to hypnotize us to go travel in our light bodies, apparently. Not that I've done it consciously, but apparently.
Many people who have been resuscitated after near-death experiences describe seeing their body from above.
Indeed.
And being pulled back into their physical body. And even though I've never experienced it and I would not like to experience it, I believe that surely not all these people imagine the same thing. Exactly the same thing.
There's no way. There's a lot
of... If it was given to imagination, then one would say he saw his body from above. One would say he was going into this tunnel, and one would say he was going, and
the stories wouldn't match up. But the stories do match up, and it doesn't matter what religion or what cultural background or what part of the world or what the level of education is. People around the world from totally different backgrounds tell very, very similar stories. And sometimes, like for instance, they're often people who describe floating on the ceiling and looking down while they're working to resuscitate on the body. And these people, when they are resuscitated later on, they could describe exactly how the paddles were put on and where they were put on and what was done exactly, as if, and they explain it and describe it only in the way that somebody who was actually on the ceiling could explain it and describe it. So there's a lot of very powerful evidence. Actually, that's how I found my belief in God, but and in the eternity of us, I found that through reading books like Life After Life by the great Raymond Moody, MD, PhD. He was a doctor, a researcher, and there are a lot of books now. And those films of Moody and others, and books, well, the films are free on the YouTube, and people could look it up and check it out. And I recommend it. Those books changed my life, and some powerful films.
Getting back to children, there are very few children who do not have what the adults call an imaginary friend.
Okay, it's very common.
He can be in the wardrobe, he can be under his bed, but they all have this imaginary friend. And
A lot of them.
a lot of them.
I don't remember.
Do they all?
Well,
And I ask a very simple question. Do all the children in the world imagine the very same thing?
yes.
Maybe maybe a better answer would be that we don't see this friend.
What they see.
We are unable. So, and the fact that we don't see this friend does not mean that he does not exist.
No, I believe very often it's true. I had a dream companion that I used to play with in dreams. I remember that. So, anyway, Ronny, it's been fascinating, as I expected it would be. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to add? Final words?
No, but I
Okay.
think we've said everything that should be said now,
Yes.
and anything else
Maybe.
that has not been said probably was not meant to be said right now at this moment.
I would agree with that. It has been a pleasure.
Me as well.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Okay.